For 9 years, Gregory Reeves belittled his brother at Thanksgiving, but this year he pushed too far.
Still waiting for that big pension to kick in, William? Or do you plan to retire on gravy?
William simply passed the gravy, the same quiet smile on his face.
9 years of this, and he still can't take a joke. Someone pass him the potatoes before he has to sell them.
He needs this. Let him have it.
The family had heard this routine so many times, most didn't even look up from their turkey.
You know, William, we all see you struggling. Maybe it's time to sell that lake house before the bank takes it.
William's fork paused for half a second. The rest of the table went still. For the first time in 9 years, Gregory hadn't just mocked, he'd drawn a line.
Well, cat got your tongue, big brother.
Gregory's challenge hung in the air like a cold draft. But the real story had started long before this dinner. 9 Thanksgivings earlier, Gregory had stood at a similar table, pointing his fork and making the same tired joke. Year after year, William endured it, never once defending himself. What no one knew was that, 3 weeks ago, William had received a letter that would have silenced them all. In 1987, he'd co-filed a patent, a modest invention that had quietly generated royalties for decades. Just last week, the licensing deal had been renewed, ensuring another decade of income. In his workshop, surrounded by tools and blueprints, William was richer than anyone at that table could guess. Back at the dinner, Gregory was still waiting for an answer.
Nothing to say, William. I am only trying to help.
Help yourself, you mean?
At the table, William's daughter glanced at her uncle, her jaw tight with suppressed irritation.
Oh, don't look at me like that. I am just saying what everyone's thinking.
William had long understood the root of Gregory's barbs, their father's old comparisons, and a lifetime of feeling second best.
Dad always praised my workshop skills, but he never saw the way Greg could win a room.
Gregory, meanwhile, carried a silent weight of his own, a failing consulting business, debts piling up.
Speaking of struggling, I saw your car outside, William. A 12-year-old sedan. At your age, that's just sad.
A younger cousin tried to lighten the mood, asking about the pumpkin pie. No one answered.
Pie can wait. We're talking about William's retirement strategy. If you can call begging for a senior discount a strategy.
William's hands remained steady on the tablecloth, his wedding ring catching the candlelight.
He needs to believe he's winning. It's the only thing holding him together. Maybe I am more comfortable than you think, Greg.
Comfortable. You drive a 12-year-old sedan and wear that same stretched-out sweater every holiday.
This sweater is cashmere. I bought it last winter.
Gregory's wife set her wine glass down with a soft clink. No one else moved.
All right, fine. A nice sweater, but you still live like a monk. If you are so comfortable, why act poor?
I act like myself. I don't need to prove anything to anyone.
William's fork lay precisely where he'd placed it, not a crumb out of order.
Prove nothing? Then why are you always so secretive? What are you hiding?
Nothing you need to worry about. Now, is there any more cranberry sauce?
A new stillness settled over the table. For the first time, the family wasn't laughing at William. They were waiting to see what he meant.
Comfortable. Look at your car out there. I drove a brand new Lexus. That's success, William.
I've never needed a new car to feel whole, Greg.
William's daughter finally snapped, telling Gregory to mind his own finances.
This is between brothers, sweetheart. Stay in your lane.
But the truth was, Gregory's flashy car was leased on credit. His consulting firm had lost 2 major clients that year. His wife shifted uncomfortably, knowing their own mortgage was overdue.
You want to talk finances. How do you even afford that lake house, renting out rooms?
I get by. The lake doesn't charge rent.
A few family members exchanged glances. Gregory's joke suddenly felt less funny, but Gregory wasn't finished. His voice sharpened like a man who needed to win. It started decades earlier, in a cramped house where their father kept score. William was the builder, Gregory the talker, and their father never let the younger one forget it.
I could never match Will's grades or his steady hands. Dad made that clear.
Back at the dinner, Gregory slammed his glass down, the red wine trembling.
Enough. Just admit it, William. You are barely scraping by.
He's still fighting that old war, the one Dad started.
The room felt smaller. Everyone waited for William to finally break.
Say it. You can't afford that lake house without help. We all know it.
I've never asked for help, Greg. Not from you. Not from anyone.
But Gregory's demand hung in the air, a challenge that couldn't be ignored any longer. William's daughter couldn't hold her tongue any longer. He doesn't have to take this abuse, she said, her voice trembling with anger and hurt.
I warned you. Stay out of this, girl.
The dining room fell into a frozen silence. Even the candle flames seemed to hold their breath.
He's pushed too far this time. It's time to end this.
William lifted his napkin, folded it with unnerving calm, and placed it neatly beside his plate. Then he reached into his pocket, the slight crinkle of fabric the only sound. He unlocked the phone, the screen casting a cool light across his weathered face. The family stared.
What's that? Going to check your balance. Need a calculator for that tiny number.
I am going to show you something. I should have shown you 9 years ago.
He slid the phone across the table. The screen faced Gregory, and everyone leaned in.
In 1987, I filed a patent for a hydraulic valve assembly used in HVAC systems.
A patent? What does that even pay? A few $100 a year.
The phone displayed the patent certificate itself, official seals, intricate diagrams, and William's name bold across the top.
Something like that.
Family members strained to see the screen. A buzz of confusion and intrigue rising around the table.
So you glued some pipes together 30 years ago. That won't pay a mortgage.
But William's silence was louder than any defense. Decades earlier, that same valve had earned a quiet place in thousands of commercial buildings.
He still thinks it's nothing. But now, the others are questioning.
The shift in the room was palpable. Gregory's hand closed tighter around his fork, his smugness faltering.
If that patent pays anything, why do you live like a hermit? Nobody buys your humble act anymore.
I live exactly how I want. I've never asked for anyone's pity.
Then why sit there like a victim every year? Why never stand up for yourself?
Because you needed to think you were winning.
What? You think I needed this? You think I am the one who's insecure?
The table might have been carved from stone. No one breathed. No one moved.
You are insane. If you are so well off, show me the proof right now.
William's hand rested on the phone, still and sure.
You want the truth, Greg. I've been carrying it for 9 years.
The phone lit up one last time, the banking app opening. Gregory's throat moved, but no sound came.
Take a close look, Gregory. Tell me what you see.
Gregory's hand shook as he lifted the phone closer. The screen reflected in his pupils, numbers that wouldn't fit any world he'd imagined.
This can't be real. You must have doctored it.
It's very real. And that's just 1/4's royalty.
A cousin leaned over, trying to glimpse the screen, but Gregory clutched the phone like a lifeline.
Number? No, I don't believe it. You've never had anything.
I never needed to show it. Now, do you want to read it aloud, or shall I?
The room was so quiet that the tick of the mantel clock sounded like a drum.
He's been rich all along. And I made a fool of myself.
Gregory's face drained of color. The fork slipped from his fingers and clattered onto his plate. William pushed back his chair, the scrape of wood on wood slicing through the silence.
You've mocked my pension for 9 years. Now, see what it really buys.
He tapped the screen, and the banking app opened to a deposit notification. A 6-figure number glowing on the display. Gregory's wife let out a sharp gasp, her hand flying to her mouth.
What is that? That can't be.
Read it, Gregory. Read it out loud for everyone.
Gregory's hand trembled as he took the phone, his fingers barely able to hold it steady. The numbers reflected in his pupils, a sum that made a mockery of every joke he'd ever made.
Go on. They're all waiting.
The whole table leaned in, breaths held, as Gregory's lips parted to speak. Gregory's lips moved, but no sound came. His eyes were fixed on the screen, unblinking.
Read it, Gregory. The longer you wait, the harder it gets.
I can't. This number, it's a mistake.
His wife leaned over, her whisper cutting through the silence. What does it say, Gregory? Gregory's mouth opened and closed like a fish. He shook his head, still choking on the words.
If I say it out loud, it's over.
Sweat beaded on Gregory's forehead. The phone shook in his grip, the numbers dancing.
It's just a number, Greg. You've been a numbers man your whole career. Read it.
The room felt like a pressure cooker. A child asked what was happening and was shushed. Gregory's throat worked, but still no words escaped. The truth was lodged there, refusing to budge.
Read it, Gregory. Every digit.
His wife's nails dug into his arm, her voice a desperate hiss. Just say it, Gregory.
Deposit from Global Tech Licensing Trust. $620,000.
A collective inhalation, as if all the air had been sucked from the room. A fork clattered onto a plate, then another, the only sounds in the frozen room. A wine glass tipped, red spreading across white linen like a slow-motion wound.
That's 1/4. The licensing deal is worth $4.2 million over the next 10 years.
Gregory's face was a mask of horror and disbelief, as if the floor had vanished beneath him. He let the phone slip from his fingers onto the table, the screen still glowing with the accusation. The Thanksgiving dinner halted, every fork suspended, every eye locked on the two brothers.
That deposit is just one payment. The patent renewed last month for another decade.
The licensing deal, locked in with a German engineering firm, was worth $4.2 million spread over the next 10 years.
I never needed much. The lake house is paid for, so is everything else.
A dozen pairs of eyes turned to William, seeing him for the first time not as the quiet retiree, but as a man of quiet, profound means.
Why? Why didn't you say something all these years?
Because you needed to believe something. And I wasn't ready to take that from you.
Gregory's wife dropped her face into her hands. His daughter looked away, her pity clear. Gregory's shoulders caved inward. The man who'd filled a room with his laughter now seemed to disappear into his chair. In the silence, the image of William's quiet workshop seemed to hang in the air, decades of work, invisible to all. No one touched their food. The turkey grew cold, the gravy congealed, and the room waited for the next words.
For 9 years, I let you mock me. Not because I couldn't stop you, but because you needed to believe you were winning.
The words landed with a weight that seemed to press the whole room deeper into silence.
You don't need to anymore.
Gregory's wife turned on him, her whisper sharp as glass. You did this every single year. Gregory didn't answer. He seemed to fold in on himself, his confidence shattered like the wine glass still seeping on the cloth.
I never wanted to embarrass you, Greg. I just wanted my brother back.
Then, as if the revelation had never happened, William picked up the gravy boat and offered it to his niece. The gesture was so ordinary, the same one he'd made 1,000 times, that the room felt unmoored from reality. No one reached for it. Forks remained still. The turkey sat untouched, a feast-turned monument. William remained standing, patient, his gaze steady on his broken brother, waiting for the first small sign of healing.
Why? All these years, why didn't you stop me?
His voice cracked, the arrogance stripped away, leaving only raw confusion.
Because you needed to believe you were better than me, Greg. Dad spent our childhood proving the opposite. I knew if you found out I had this, You'd feel like a total failure. I couldn't do that to you. Maybe I should have told you sooner. I was afraid it would destroy you.
Gregory's chair scraped backward. He stood, his face a mask of horror and shame.
I can't do this.
He turned and walked out of the dining room, the front door closing with a soft click. The family remained frozen, the sound of his departure, the only noise in the heavy silence. Outside, autumn leaves swirled on the path to William's lake house, a home Gregory had mocked for 9 years. William sat alone on the porch of his lake house, the evening light turning the water copper. Gregory's car rolled slowly into the drive. William watched from the porch as his brother walked toward him, shoulders slumped.
Sit down, Greg. I was hoping you'd come.
Gregory sank into the chair beside him. The lake stretched out before them, dark and indifferent to the wreckage of the day.
I am sorry for everything. For 9 years of cruelty I didn't even know I was capable of.
I know you are, and I forgave you a long time ago.
Dad did this to us, didn't he? I spent my whole life trying to prove I was worth something, and I took it out on you.
He did his damage, but we're both still here. That's what matters now.
For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the lapping of the lake filled the silence and the weight of their shared history.
We'll figure it out, Greg, but not tonight.
The silence stretched until Gregory, head bowed, whispered a question he'd been too ashamed to ask.
How long? How long has that patent been paying you?
Since 1987. A steady, quiet stream. Then last month, the renewal came with a lump sum.
William described the early years, the late nights in the workshop, the co-inventor who'd long since passed.
I was jealous. You had this, and I had nothing. I wanted to tear you down.
I only ever wanted you to be proud of me, Greg. Isn't that what brothers want?
Gregory's breath caught. The weight of years seemed to break open. Gregory reached out his hand, hesitant. William took it, and for a long moment, they simply held on.
That's a start.
The lake reflected the last light, and on that porch, something fractured began to mend. Gregory broke the silence, his voice still raw. What now, Will, after everything?
I go fishing every spring. Bass start biting when the water warms up. Come with me. We haven't fished together in 30 years.
You'd still want me out there with you.
I've always wanted you out there, Greg. I just didn't know how to ask.
Gregory's throat tightened. He nodded, a single tear escaping. I'd like that. They stood together on the porch, the last light bleaching the sky above the tree line. The lake mirrored the sunset, gold fading to violet, a canvas for a new beginning. No mention of money, no mention of patents. Just two old brothers, side by side. As the first star appeared, William put his hand on Gregory's shoulder, and neither felt alone. The following Thanksgiving, the table was set with the same care, but the air had changed. Gregory reached for the gravy boat, then, without a word, passed it to William.
Thank you, Greg.
A niece, too young to know the weight of what had happened, piped up with a grin. She announced that Uncle Will needed a financial advisor, because clearly he had no idea how to spend his money. The table froze for a half beat, then erupted in laughter.
He doesn't need one, sweetie. He's got the best invisible accountant in town.
Invisible and well paid.
Gregory's laugh was genuine, his eyes finally free of the old resentment. Someone called for pumpkin pie, and the room settled into the easy rhythm of a family that had remembered how to love each other. In the years that followed, William never spoke of the patent again. Not once. He simply lived his quiet life, mornings in the workshop, afternoons by the lake. The framed patent certificate hung on the study wall, not as a boast, but as a quiet reminder. He still drove his old sedan, still wore his cashmere sweaters. Nothing about him changed. The lake house was never in danger. It stood solid, its porch creaking in welcome. He never mentioned the money. the $620,000 deposit, or the millions that followed. Instead, he turned back to his tools, to the hum of a drill and the scent of oil. The patent certificate gathered dust, but the peace it bought never faded. William Reeves, the quiet millionaire, lived exactly as he always had, hands busy, heart full. And as the sun set over the lake, he sat on the porch, coffee in hand, and smiled at the stillness. Spring came early the next year, mist curling off the lake like a held breath. In the old wooden boat, William and Gregory Reeves sat side by side, their lines disappearing into the silver water.
I used to think I needed to be loud to be seen.
Turns out, quiet works too.
The only sound was the gentle plop of a bobber and the creak of the oars.
I am glad you waited for me.
I'd wait another 9 years if I had to.
A fish tugged Gregory's line, and for the first time in decades, he laughed with pure joy. Some victories are silent. The richest thing William Reeves ever owned was the patience to let his brother find his way back. As the sun broke through the mist, they were just two old men, fishing and finally whole.